Mr. Mystery Guest. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Unless you want to open the front door for me.
No, I'm afraid not. But you have me at a loss. You know my name, but who are you? Just another American who saw too many movies as a child. Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon.
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. I really like those sequin shirts.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Welcome, everyone, to the Big Kids Show. My name is Mark, and we're joined by two of your favorite big kids, Big Nick and Mr. B. Today, boys and girls, we will be playing Rank 'em. Yeah! That's right. Thank you. We welcome and appreciate your applause. This is where us big kids, we pick a topic, we place votes, we put them into the Big Kid computer where the most complex algorithms known to mankind scramble the information and print out the results of our votes in the ever-popular countdown to number 1. A reminder here, no one knows the outcome of the ranking today except for myself and the Big Kid computer, and maybe Ralph on the research team. I think I caught him peeking.
Damn it, Ralph.
I know. I like Ralph. He's a good guy.
Anyway,
right. Before we get in too deep, big kids, if you haven't already, please, for Ralph, give us a ranking, subscribe, look us up on social media, send us your thoughts, ideas, etc. We love hearing from everybody out there. But now, it is my honor and privilege to introduce the honorary recipient of tonight's episode. That man is one Mr. Bruce Willis.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. Thank you. Yes.
Now, why would we pick Bruce Willis for this episode? Because he's a badass. That's why.
He's great.
Fact. Great. Fact. So Bruce Willis was born March 19th, 1955 in East Germany. I did not know this, guys. That was information to me. The research team went real deep. I'm pretty sure they actually...
Did you say East Germany? I think it's West Germany, fella.
That's not according to the research team, but who knows? Maybe the research team is incorrect.
It does matter. For the younger folks out there, it matters.
Oh, it matters. All right, we'll circle back on that. What the research...
Sorry to cut you off, big fella.
But his mother was German. His father was an American soldier. And after leaving the Army in 1957, his dad relocated the whole family, siblings and all, to Carneys Point, New Jersey. So got a little bit of a post-war romance there with Bruce Willis's parents.
Ooh.
And Willis kind of came to light. He was cast as David Addison Jr. in the television series Moonlighting, which was 85 to 89. He competed against 3,000 other actors for that position. So that role where he was opposite Sybil Shepherd helped kind of establish him as a comedic actor. And during the show seasons, he won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series and a Golden Globe for Best Actor, Television Series, Musical, or Comedy. And since then, he's appeared in over 100 films.
Wow.
Bruce Willis is a worker, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lot of films. So with that said, this man has a ridiculous amount of movies to his credit, and it was difficult to narrow this down. In fact, for our top 10 tonight, boys, we will have a whopping 16 movies that are tied for that top 10 showdown. So we got a lot to get to. The choices were all over the place, but we're here to make sure they all get covered just for you, Bruce. Now, unfortunately, Willis retired from acting in 2022 due to a diagnosis of aphasia. I hope I'm saying that right, aphasia. And then he was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia in 2023. So I just wanted to give a shout out from the Big Kid team to Bruce Willis. Nothing but good thoughts, prayers for him, his family. You know, I know dementia personally in the family, so that's not a fun thing to go through. So our thoughts are with you, Mr. Willis, and this is our honor to you, sir, for all of the good things that you have done for all of us out here in the world. So, gentlemen, the votes have been tallied, and we are happy to present to all the big kids out there the top-ranked Bruce Willis films of all time. Let's dive right in, boys. Like I said, we got 16 to get through. It's a lot. So let's kick it off with number 16, 10, which stands by itself. No tie here. But we got one movie, Looper, comes in at number 10. I'll admit I've never seen this movie. Big Nick, I think this was on your list. I think it was only on your list. So if you want to give us a quick rundown of Looper.
This was on my list, and thank you for calling on me there, Mr. Mark.
Yeah, no
Mr.
problem.
B, have you seen this one?
I have not either, so that's why it didn't make my list. I've heard of it. It looks interesting. It's just not one I've actually sat down and watched.
It's, when we were reviewing Mr. Willis's fine movies that he's been in over the years, and yes, it's a loss that he is retired, because he's fantastic and his movies are great. So Looper was one that I was not aware of. For whatever reason, I totally missed this one being in the theater. And it was one that I did not see in the theater. $30 million budget. It hit for $176 million at the box.
Wow, that's not bad.
And this one came out in 2012. When I reviewed Mr. Willis's movies with his entire catalog, I was really intrigued by the amount of science fiction movies that he's been in.
Yeah, a lot of them. You're correct.
I didn't put that together without looking at his complete list. And so Looper is another science fiction action thriller film. So we know that Mr. Willis is perfect for any role in that type of movie. And this is one of those deals, boys, where it will hold a special place in my heart. For whatever reason, I have this this forever love of movies that I just happen across, right? Like late at night, flipping through the channels, and I happen to catch something at the beginning that I've never heard of, and then I can't turn it off. It's so good that I can't turn it off. Had no idea, no intention of ever watching it because I didn't know it existed. Same with Looper. Flipping one night, I catch it about 10 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, it's got Bruce Willis, it's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it's got Emily Blunt. Okay, this movie must have this must carry some weight here, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to watch it. It's a science fiction film. And guess what? Your boy, Big Nick, sucker for time traveling movies.
Yeah.
And there is time travel up front and center in this movie. So I don't want to give anything away.
Please don't.
But Bruce Willis is one of the ones that is traveling throughout time. So is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But check out this movie. I was very surprised, only because I had not heard of the movie, but I loved it.
Very nice. Well, and it sounds like it did really well. I'll have to put that on my list because obviously the name Looper kind of sounded like it's something time travel, most likely.
Time loop kind of thing.
Yeah, something in that realm, but that sounds interesting.
The reason for that is so Bruce Willis's character, his job, that job is referred to as a looper.
Okay.
Oh, what do you do for a living? I'm a looper, right?
Gotcha.
And a looper is a person that travels in time to as like a hitman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis, amongst others, are hitmen in the movie, and they travel throughout time to make the hit. There's time travel involved in the hits. I don't want to get it's a little bit complicated, but not complicated that you can't easily follow the movie.
Okay.
Because some time travel movies can do that, where you're like,
for sure,
what the heck is going on? What time are they in? I don't know what's going on anymore. Not with Looper. It's very easy to follow, and it's one of those movies where you very quickly you get on the edge of your seat and you can't get off of that edge, baby.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, Looper. I like it. Let's move on to number 9. Also, no ties for the 9 spots. So 9 and 10, boys, were wide open. We had those pretty good. This one is another one, actually, I have not seen from Bruce Willis.
Are we on 9 or are we on 15?
Both.
Okay.
Moonrise Kingdom came in at number 9. So I think Mr. B, this again was probably, I think, only on your list.
Yeah. So I had this one up there, and I love Wes Anderson's films. So that's just probably why I picked it. He did The Royal Tenenbaums and a couple other movies, but I like the quirky, weird, dry comedy. And he was one of the leads in Moonrise Kingdom, but it's just this weird kind of Boy Scout movie with these two kids that fall in love and there's weird interactions. But this was a film that had awesome cast on it. Bruce Willis, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Frances McDormand, Tilda Swinton, Jason Schwartzman. I mean, Harvey Keitel, I think, was even in the film. So It's one that, again, if you like Wes Anderson's films, you'll like it. I like that kind of movie. So to me, that's why I made the list. I think that was my number 7 for Bruce Willis movies.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, so let's get into the meat here, boys. We've got 4 different movies that all tied for number 8. So yeah, let's dive right into them here. The first one I will do is Look Who's Talking. Came in, cracked the top 10. This was one that I remember watching like multiple times. I can't remember exactly how old I was when I very first watched it. It came out in 1989, so I was only 8 years old when it first came out, but I'm pretty sure I watched it pretty soon after it came out. But Bruce Willis is essentially the plot is there's Kirstie Alley. So she gets pregnant from a man who's having an affair in his marriage. And on the way to the hospital, she meets John Travolta, who's the taxi cab driver. And the baby that's in her womb has a voice, and that voice is Bruce Willis.
Yes, Love it.
And it is absolutely freaking hilarious, man. Like the thought, I don't know. I love the originality of the movie, like the concept of something that I hadn't ever seen done in a movie before. And the fact of how funny they could make it. It wasn't like raunchy, but it was hilarious. Like it was raunchy. You know what I mean? Like it was,
plus the fact that they went with a gruff manly voice for this baby with Bruce Willis. It's awesome.
Exactly. So, and again, John Travolta played a great role. Kirstie Alley also played a great role. But there's just so many funny quotes. He talks about he's like, guys, I got something cold and wet in my shorts over here. And he's like, there's like a grandpa with these giant eyebrows. He's like, let me just grab one of those. He's like yanking stuff off, pulls the toupee off of one of the dates that Kirstie Alley has. And then obviously he kind of, from his point of view, grows a bond with John Travolta, and obviously it goes both ways. But it was a surprise hit. It opened at number 1 in the United States with 12 million in the opening weekend, stayed at number 1 for 5 weekends, and grossed over 10 million each weekend. Went on to gross 140 million domestically and almost 300 million internationally.
Oof.
Huge. So Look Who's Talking.
Huge. Can I make a confession?
Please.
This is both disgusting and funny at the same time.
Oh, boy.
Okay, here we go.
Brace ourselves.
So before I get into my confession, I want to touch on something. We did talk at one time about Ken, and he knows exactly how old we are. We're all the same age as him. And I wondered, how the hell does this Ken person that left us a 5-star review and leaves in the notes at the same age? Well, we keep calling out years, like 1989. I was only 8 years old. Well, turns out Ken can do math, so he has figured out how old we are. Now, I was slightly older than Mr. Mark here. I was 9 when the movie came out, and I saw it in the movie theater.
Old bastard.
Yeah,
you old bag.
Saw it in the movie theater with a friend and like his parents or parents and friends. I don't remember. There's like a group of us that went. It was a fun time. But there's a part in that movie where Kirstie Alley references, I think she tells her mother that she was artificially inseminated or something like that. Went to a sperm bank or was a donor, right? Because she doesn't want to admit like, oh, she's sleeping with this married man. And that's why she's pregnant. I'm 9. So when you're 9 and you don't understand things, I don't know about the rest of you, but I think that what I did is I start to make up my own conclusions. Like I will form my own answers, uneducated. And so I thought when that was the first time I had ever heard of sperm donor or artificially inseminated test tube baby, anything like that. I didn't know any of that stuff. So whatever she referenced in that movie, in my mind, I came up with the idea and I believed this for like 2 years from like 9 up until last year. Actually, I believe this.
Yeah, up until last year.
Let's be real. Yeah.
I believed this for like a year and a half of my life as a young lad. I thought that they put the sperm in like soup, and then you just eat the soup, and then you become pregnant.
And what's crazy is Big Nick is 3 credits away from getting his doctorate. So.
Oh man, God help us all.
Yeah, that's a whole new thought to soup of the day, huh? But
thank God you're not a lady who's trying to get pregnant, Big Nick.
Soup of the day. I'll have that.
I don't know if some older kid told me that or what, but I did believe that for like a solid year of my life that's how that system
He's
worked.
listening. He's getting some joy out of the fact that you actually believed it for a full year.
This big Nick is a dummy.
Yeah, and
a big dummy.
For whatever reason, anytime that movie is on or mentioned, I think back to 9-year-old Nick thinking about the soup and how grossed out I was about the soup.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so moving on from the semen soup.
So cheers to that. Let's went left real quick.
Let's move past that. Next on the list, boys, The Whole 9 Yards. So this is one of my favorite movies. I actually had this one pretty high up on my list. And I don't think either of you guys had this one on your list at all, which I was very disappointed. Very disappointed. But basically, this one follows a mild-mannered dentist as he travels to Chicago, and he has to inform a mob boss about the whereabouts of his new neighbor, who is a former hitman with a price on his head. That former hitman is one Bruce Willis. Have you guys seen this movie?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Matthew Perry.
Yes, Matthew Perry. R.I.P. Just to me, this was a hilarious movie, and Matthew Perry actually is fantastic in this movie. I'm about to catch some slack for this. Never a huge Friends fan, right? So I wasn't a big Matthew Perry guy until I saw this movie, and he knocked it out of the park. And then him with Bruce Willis, it's like the perfect yin and yang for me. So it also did pretty good. It did 57 million in the United States and Canada, worldwide about 106 million. So it did pretty good. But yeah, so The Whole 9 Yards makes it on the list. Let's move on to another number 8. We got 2 more tied here for number 8, boys. Let's go Die Hard 2 coming in at number 8.
Which I'm surprised you guys didn't rank that higher just because we love Die Hard. We already talked about Die Hard, and this was Die Hard 2. It's just Bruce Willis kicking more ass.
Well, can I offer a little explanation for the way that I scored the movies?
Yes.
So what I did was, because he's in some of these franchise type movies where there's multiples, I kind of factored that in on what I thought to be the best of the series, which in most cases was the first movie. So while I loved Die Hard 2 and 3, like they didn't make my list. There was so many great Bruce Willis movies to choose from that I had to come up with a way of kind of sorting it out.
Yeah. Which, and again, I think we're obviously showing all the listeners that we love a lot of Bruce Willis's movies because we picked so many. Our shot was wide. We were all over the place here. So
it was bird.
I mean, I think I even had Die Hard 2 at number 6, but just because this was one that when I watched it, I liked the premise of it, and like it was a lot of twists and turns and little things like throughout the movie where you're like. Not even to get into it. It's just there's a lot of cool little things that happened in the movie that I really liked, and it just was. Yeah. He was just kicking more ass in Die Hard 2.
So I like Die Hard 2 a lot. I will say I think it was my least favorite. If I had to like rank the 3 Die Hard movies, I'd probably put it as my least favorite of the 3.
Oh, dude, you just went
like a knock.
You just went down a couple pegs in my book.
I loved all 3 though, so it's like somebody has to come in last place. So yeah, that's kind of my.
If you're not first, you're last.
Pegs.
That's right. We're running out of
B-book.
Speaking of running out of pegs, let's get this last number 8 out of the way because I feel like we've been stuck on 8 here for 10 minutes. Death Becomes Her, which is a total sleeper hit, and I remember watching this as a kid. I think I had like zero interest in watching this as a kid. And then I watched it and I was like, this movie is freaking hilarious.
Same. So like, I feel like I got forced to watch it like with my mom maybe, and I was like, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it came out in 92. It's got Meryl Streep. It's got Bruce Willis, and it's got Goldie Hawn. So basically it's about an actress who is Meryl Streep. She plays Madeline Ashton, and she performs in a Broadway musical. She invites her, they call it like the frenemy, right? It's a friend but enemy in Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis is married to, fiance. He's engaged to Goldie Hawn, and he meets Meryl Streep. Basically, leaves Goldie Hawn for Meryl Streep, and they end up moving in together. And then Meryl Streep, in her quest for youngness, gets a business card from a spa, and basically is given this witch, we'll call her, that has a potion that gives forever youth. And there's so much crazy stuff in this movie. I don't even think I could like try to describe it all. But Bruce Willis is not the normal role, which is kind of what I liked about him in this one. It's very like
he was kind of nerdy and kind of weird and goofy and awkward. And
exactly. So it's very interesting. Definitely highly recommend it. And honestly, Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn. I love Goldie Hawn. She's one of my favorite actresses. And Bruce Willis. That's a fantastic trio. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't already.
And I think that was still when he was, because like we talked about, he was kind of still doing this like back and forth of being kind of a comedic actor and then being a more serious actor. And so, that was kind of still in that realm a little bit, but that
had to be what, right after Look Who's Talking or near around that same time.
That was 92 and he'd already had done Die Hard and all that stuff, but still
it was 89.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely was up there. So, and it was surprisingly, so the same company that made Jurassic Park also was responsible for this one. And this one was actually a bit of a pioneer in the use of computer generated effects. So it actually won an Academy Award for best visual effects. Cause if you remember, Goldie Hawn's got the hole in her belly.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one memory I have is that huge hole in her stomach. I'm like, how did they do that?
Shotgun.
Yeah. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. So good flick. All right. We're out of the number 8. We've cleared the number 8 here, gentlemen. We only have a 2-way tie for number 7. So let's get into to that. We've got 12 Monkeys coming in at number 7.
Mark, look, I'm not going to lie, buddy. I appreciate you trying to keep us moving along here, but I'm prepared to do a 3-hour show if we have to. It doesn't bother me.
Sometimes you got to do a 3-hour show. You know, I mean,
you're trying to move us along. I'm trying to educate the world how babies are made. All right, like
semen soup is the answer.
We're all learning it, and it's not accurate at all.
Salty your semen roll, soup. All right. All of a sudden, Campbell's people ain't buying it no more. All right.
Our sponsorship went down the
soup just went out of fashion. What won't go out of fashion for Big Nick is this 12 Monkeys movie. I remember this was like in that phase of about 6 years of my life, right? I'm out busy. I'm running the streets, right? I'm running the streets, hanging out, doing God knows what out there. But so I had no clue like what was good on TV around this time. I had like 2 or 3 shows that I watched that I was loyal to because this was 1990, I think it was late 90s, 12 Monkeys. So this is 1995. All right. So I remember seeing this one in the movie theater. It was one like that a buddy of mine's like, what are you doing today? I'm like, I'm going to see 12 Monkeys. You should come with me. I didn't know what the movie was. I didn't know who was going.
And he was like, "Oh, you're going to the zoo? That's weird."
Yeah, right.
I didn't know any of that stuff. I just said, "Hey, all I know is when we're at the theater, avoid the soup." So we go to the movie, and again, this is another Bruce Willis time travel movie.
New England and clam chowder.
It's science fiction thriller, and Bruce Willis is he's not in charge, but he's one of the people that they select to send back because this is post-apocalyptic future, right? We're talking everything's on the table, boys, right? And so they're sending people back. I think it's from 2035 or something like that, which actually, oddly enough, we are closely approaching. We're like 11 years away from living out the 12 Monkeys movie.
I don't like to hear that.
2035. So the most of humanity is destroyed by some kind of virus, like this mysterious virus, and they don't really know where it came from, who's in charge of dropping it on the people, and then it spreads like wildfire. They're living underground. The ones that were able to survive, I don't know. I can't recall because it's been so many years since I've seen this movie, how the ones that survived. Either they just got underground fast or were immune to it somehow. I don't recall that. But they're living underground. And what the powers that be are doing, somehow they figured out a way to send people back to 1996 when they believed that the virus was unleashed on the world. Right. And what they've done is you're basically playing detective in the future, which is a really cool show idea. And so you're sending people back to gather information. And every time you send somebody back, they either get killed, they get the virus and die themselves, or they're losers, they're junkies. They don't find out any information. They go back there and they just goof off because essentially they're in prison while they're in 2035. And so Bruce Willis becomes one of the characters that they can trust. They can send him back, and he's actually smart enough to learn things and to gather information for them so they can figure out when and by whom this virus was released. And after that, I ain't going to tell you anything else. It's a mystery. You're going to have to go watch the movie.
That's it. All she wrote. I mean, that's a pretty good synopsis right there. So, yeah, I haven't seen 12 Monkeys. It's been so long, I kind of forgot what it was about.
It's a brilliant film, and Brad Pitt, it's a young Brad Pitt, and he plays one of the mental patients. And he that was the movie for me. I'm sure, I can't think of his movies before 12 Monkeys, but obviously he was in stuff before 95. But that was the first movie where it was like, this Mr. Pitt guy, great actor. We found a good one here. Yeah, we found a good one here. So yeah, watch it for Bruce and stay for Brad.
And that was why that one actually didn't even make my list, is just because when I watched it, I don't remember it. I mean, that's just a memory thing for me. Like, I remember watching it back, 20 years ago, but just doesn't.
Well, I mean, the movie's almost 30,
too many
30
beers
years old
then.
at this point.
Yeah. Or 30 years old. God bless America.
Well, speaking of drinking potions that keep you young, Brad Pitt. So anyway, moving on to number 7, boys. Die Hard with a Vengeance. We got our Die Hard movie. So this one came out in 95. It starred Bruce Willis as John McClane again, but also had one young Samuel L. Jackson as
Say what again?
his reluctant partner, Zeus Carver, who was teamed up basically to stop a German terrorist group, and it was trying to get the Federal Reserve. So it's interesting that this one came out around Christmas time, which was kind of an interesting time to put it out. I mean, I know there's some Christmas themes with Die Hard, but this one's not really, in that Christmas spirit. It's more of a summer, set in the summer of the movie. And
I think there's a lot of strategy though with when they release it. Like Christmas time is a lot of time when people are off work, and going to movies. So I always wonder about that too.
Oh, actually, hold on. The research team just told me. I'm sorry, Big Nick, not to cut you off. I am mistaken. This one came out in May. It was a different movie.
Come on, man.
Shame on you.
Come on, man.
You don't even know how babies are made.
This one.
We want Big Nick to give you a tutorial.
Would you like any soup? I'll decline politely. But this one did come out. I know that there was some concerns when it came out about the portraying of bomb threats and terrorism because it came out only a month after the Oklahoma City bombing. So there was a little bit of...
I vaguely remember that too. Yeah.
But they went ahead and released it as planned. And it earned $22 million in its opening weekend, which I mean is definitely pretty good. Ended up going to gross 100 million in the United States and Canada, 266 in other markets for a total of 366 million. Ooh. So it didn't do bad. Did not do bad at all.
I remember watching that and going, you know what? You mentioned Oklahoma City there, and I'm not trying to be flip about such a tragedy and domestic terrorists, but I remember watching it and being young enough and that being fresh enough that I'm on the couch and I'm going, holy shit, Hollywood's just giving these terrorist ideas now. Can we pump the brakes a little bit and stop giving them ideas? But yeah, no, I remember sweating that one out, watching that movie, sweating that one out. That was a nail biter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Die Hard with a Vengeance, Mr. B. Probably Samuel L. Jackson that kind of helped in that one. He was a good one, but no, I think that was an excellent movie overall. Moving on to number 6, sitting by itself, the very unique Sin City.
Yeah, Sin City, and I tell you what, it's a comic book movie, 2005. They did a follow-up movie that I think was much more recent, like 2014. The sequel was 2014, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. Sin City, this, I don't know why. I was sleeping on this one, Mark. Like, I had no idea the cast: Jessica Alba, Benicio del Toro, Brittany Murphy, Clive Owen, Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, Elijah Wood. I mean, it's star-studded.
Yep.
And the story is fantastic. It's got a little bit of that Pulp Fiction where they kind of bounce around a little bit. But I know I've said this before with horror flicks and slasher films on this same show, but, you know, hear me once, hear me twice, hear me for the third time. Believe me now is what I say. This Sin City is the ultimate lights out movie. Turn all the lights out, crank the volume on that surround sound up to 11, and just have yourself a field day there, boys and girls. Sin City, watch it in the dark, but don't watch it alone.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's a very unique film style and everything that went along with that one. It took me a while to finally get to that one, but it's good. Like you said, based off the comic book. I'm not a huge comic book movie guy, but that one was very well done.
I am when they're that dark and that serious. I'm not. I don't like them. There's very little bubblegum comic book movies that I like, but when they're dark and dirty like this one was, I mean, this one is do not watch it with children or even like teenagers. It's a very adult comic book movie.
Note to self, Big Nick likes it dark and dirty.
Rated R.
Lots of vocabulary. There's lots of vocabulary in this movie.
Yes. The vocabulary is very very free flowing. We'll say salty, almost as salty as the soup. All right, so let's get into our number 5 choices here, boy. We got we got 3 choices that tie for number 5. This is our last position with any ties for the rest of the day, but we do have 3 of them here that tied. So coming in first, we have a well-known one. We've talked about it on this show previously, but that is one, Armageddon.
Yes. Harry Stamper Day. We've talked about it before.
National Harry Stamper Day.
And if you guys want to hear tons about that, we talk about it a lot. It was our Happy Father's Day episode, June 18th, 2023.
Yep.
Really, just go back and listen to that one. We talk about it a lot. Big Nick's, he's advocating for it to become Harry Stamper Day because he saved the world.
Yeah, and it's long overdue. This is a bill that should have passed through Congress. It just should have flew through Congress, and we should have made it a national. I mean, come on. We got plenty of. I'm looking at a calendar right now, boys and girls. We got so many dates that they got no title to them. I need a title that's more than a Monday or a Tuesday, for crying out loud. Harry Stamper Day. It's long overdue. It's un-American not to have Harry Stamper Day. Go back, listen to what did you say from June 18th, 2023.
June 18th, 2023, our Happy Father's Day episode. It was our badass movie dads.
Dads, go. Here's what you do. You hit stop right now. And you go and devour that podcast and then come back and devour the rest of this one. Okay.
Yep. And then your head will go.
That's all you need to know. Shout out to the dads out there. The real dads, the fathers, the ones spending the time with the kids. Shout out to the dad.
Yeah, the ones that are blowing up asteroids out in space.
That too.
That too. Harry Stamper. Well, where would we be without him?
We'd be dead.
We'd all be dead.
Dust in the wind, baby.
Dust in the wind.
Dude.
All right. Go back and watch our Bill, or listen to our Bill and Ted's episode if you haven't done that one already too. All right, boys, on to. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6 left. We're doing pretty good. We're moving right along here, boys. This one I know is going to be near and dear to one of the big kids here, and that is going to be one Big Nick. And that movie is Unbreakable.
Yep.
Oh, you just said we just talked
5.
about comic book movies. I think this is the greatest comic book movie of all time. And
we've got you quoted many times saying that.
I will say that until the day that I am no longer able to talk, my friends. This was a trilogy, and it took them about 20 years to complete that trilogy, but
pretty much
this is the best of the 3. It's the first one. It's I just don't want to give anything away. It's that good of a movie. It still holds up to today. And it's hard for me to believe that movie's now about 24 years old.
That's crazy.
So Bruce Willis plays a father and a security guard, right? He's a security guard and a father, and him and his wife are having some troubles. His son is like supposed to be like 12, 13, maybe 14 at the most, if we're stretching it, maybe 14 in the movie. And that boy that played his son back then, that dude is now he's going to be 38, 39 years old. That's crazy when you think about that. So I love
math is crazy.
Love Unbreakable. Well, no, it's one of those movies that I watch it every couple years. So it always surprises me to remember how old the movie actually is. Well, and unfortunately how old I'm getting.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, Big Nick, you're not getting old. You're just getting more badass, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I like to say. Nick, this was one that you had told me about in one of the previous episodes. And so I had to go out and watch it. I mean, it was highly touted, and I would say it did not disappoint.
And the fact that Mark actually went and watched it is a good sign, because we've been telling Mark to watch movies for years, and he just is like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that. So the fact that he did it, good job, Big Nick. And one finally went through.
I think you guys are getting your revenge on me by not watching Fury, which I bet you still haven't watched.
Oh, yeah.
It's in
my queue.
If you have not seen it, it's not even a Bruce Willis movie. Just go watch it. Fury, Netflix, boom. All right, boys. Let's keep it rolling. Coming in at number 5 with the last slot. I think I pushed this one way up the charts because I'm looking at the lists, and I don't think either of you guys even had this on your list. That means
this was like your 1 or 2 vote.
Yeah.
Then, huh?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in you gentlemen.
Let's hear it.
It's The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah.
The Last Boy Scout is one of my favorite Bruce Willis movies of all time. So it came out in 91. This guy's just dropping films when it was like late 80s, early 90s. He was just dropping them like every year. I mean, that guy must have just been working his ass off. So it follows a washed up private detective who's Bruce Willis, and he teams up with a scandalized football player who is played by Damon Wayans to uncover a political conspiracy involving their former employers. All I know is I'm going to read this one little section. This is from Wikipedia, but this just sums it up very well. This all happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Mm-hmm. All right. So during halftime at a televised football game, LA Stallions running back Billy Cole receives a phone call from a mysterious man named Milo, who warns him to win the game or he will be killed. Cole ingests PCP and in a drug-induced rage brings a gun onto the field, shooting 3 opposing players to reach the end zone before shooting himself in the head. Meanwhile, private investigator Joe Hallenbeck, played by Bruce Willis, a disgraced former Secret Service agent who was once a national hero for saving the president from an assassination attempt, discovers that his wife Sarah is having an affair with his friend and business partner, Mike Matthews. Mike gives Joe an assignment to act as a bodyguard for a stripper named Corey. Mike is then killed by a car bomb outside Joe's house. That's all in the beginning of the movie. It's all uphill from there.
I remember that first 15 minutes. The gun scene on the football field was it was very intense. Jarring.
Yes. It is very intense. It didn't do that great in the theaters. It was it only made 7.9 in the opening weekend.
7.9.
Total gross was about 60 million internationally. It ended up at about 114 million total.
Yeah, two and a half times your budget. You'll take that all day long if you're an investor.
Exactly. And the research team has just informed me this was the movie that came out at Christmas time, which got a little bit of flack because, who doesn't want a Christmas movie with a guy on the football field shooting people and then committing suicide?
Yeah, right before the Super Bowl, too.
Exactly. But it kind of, it's funny when I looked it up, it was, how did they state it? They said it was not a blockbuster, but it helped Bruce Willis recover his star status after a disastrous Hudson Hawk and became hugely popular in the video rental market. That's right. That's when video cassettes and rentals were still big.
Blockbuster was crushing it back in 91.
Yes, they were.
They were crushing it. So The Last Boy Scout, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Amazing movie. Damon Wayans, Bruce Willis, fantastic duo.
Plus badass title.
Yes. Coming in at number 5. All right, boys, we got 4 left, 4 slots, no more ties. We're off to the races from here. The next one coming in at number 4, The Fifth Element.
Yes. And this one, like, sadly, like, the critics shit all over this one.
I can't believe that. That makes no sense.
Well, and it's I loved it because I love the premise behind it. So, like, I'm a premise.
Bruce had blonde hair.
Yeah. And again, like a lot of times with the sci-fi films, like it was super sci-fi.
It was over the top sci-fi.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was supposed to be in the year like 2857 or I don't know, it was way in the future, but I just loved the movie and how it was done and just like the weird quirkiness of it. And so I ranked that one pretty high myself. I think I had The Fifth Element as my number 4 pick.
I had it at my 6.
Yeah.
6
so
spot.
we had it pretty high there.
I had a 7.
And just on side note, Mila Jovovich just was a straight badass character in that film. Yeah.
That kind of set her off on her career. Resident Evil. She did like all the Resident Evil movies and really kind of became an action actress.
Chris Tucker was fantastic as well. Don't you forget about Chris Tucker.
Tucker was awesome in it too. But yeah, it was just, again, it was weird. And like, I like weird, but critics don't like weird. So screw the critics, watch movies that you enjoy. And if you enjoy it, have fun.
That's right.
But yeah, so Fifth Element, awesome movie. It's just, I don't even know what you say about it. It's just, it's cool.
I say,
fantastic.
Mr. B, I say thank you. And I say, shout out to the weird people.
Yeah.
Keep it weird, y'all.
Yeah. Sometimes don't take the critics' judgment too far because their job is to crap on movies and screw those guys. Like
their job is to
it's called
critique.
entertainment. It's supposed to be entertainment. Like
I never trusted the critics after they shit on Dumb and Dumber. The minute they did that, I quit listening to all the critics. Yeah. So nope, I'm 100% of the way there with you.
But I was surprised. So like this movie, it was 97. Like it had a pretty huge budget in 97 of like 90+ million.
Yeah, and it was
because of all the sci-fi heavy stuff and all that. But it still did like 260, 270 million. So I mean, hey, the investors did well.
Bruce, don't listen to the critics. Listen to us. You nailed it, man.
We are critics.
Exactly.
We're just better.
There we
go.
We're
way better.
We're so much better.
All right, boys. We're into the top 3 here. We're down to the nitty gritty. Coming in at number 3, I See Dead People.
What?
The Sixth Sense.
Oh, snap. And you know what's weird is you say
M. Night Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
I love M. Night Shyamalan. He's a favorite of mine. You just said, Mr. B, that you like weird. M. Night will deliver some weirdness right to your TV screen.
I love all the weird.
Yeah, and he's one of the best at it. And Bruce is fantastic in The Sixth Sense. This was Mr. Knight's like first big movie, maybe first big budget movie, one to hit the big screen anyway. And this one, it's weird because I haven't seen it in years. And when I think back, I kind of feel like Bruce took a back seat to his character took a back seat to other portions of that movie to tell other parts of the story. But yeah, it's a fantastic movie. The kid in there sees dead people. The other people can't see these dead people. That alone, if you've not watched this one yet, that should entice you. But also know that M. Night Shyamalan is great at writing these movies. And this was one of his early ones and one of his best ones.
Yeah. And the twist will blow your mind.
See, that's the thing. I don't like when people point out twists. Like, because that's what they try to, they're like, you know what? I loved it and you're going to love it too. And the twist. Because then now I'm sitting there the whole time like, what's the twist?
It happens in the beginning. Bruce Willis does the splits. It's really weird. Yeah. Anyway. And on that note, I was going to say that Bruce Willis, I think what I appreciate about him and this role kind of ties into this is that he's very multifunctional, man. Like he does so many different types of roles. He can be a badass. He can be funny. He can be serious. He can be dramatic. He kind of can like cover all the gamuts, you know?
That he can, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, boys, we're into the top 2 here. I don't know if there's going to be any surprises, maybe just which one takes the crown.
Dose.
But both of these two we have talked about, dare I say, ad nauseum on this podcast.
But many minutes.
Many a minutes, but for good reason. And we'll talk just a few more minutes because coming in at number 2 is one Pulp Fiction.
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead.
We've talked about Pulp Fiction, I think, at least on 5 or 6 episodes, if not more.
Maybe 20.
Maybe 25.
So on IMDb's ranking of the top movies, Pulp Fiction is number 8.
Of like
pretty,
ever? Of like,
wow.
Okay.
Number 8 all time. That's pretty impressive. And if you look at even some of the other movie rankings, it's usually in the top 10. It's such a well done film. I mean, I love that movie. I love all the actors, the way it cuts back and forth. It's a brilliant movie. And Bruce Willis is just, again, another badass in a movie kicking ass. So watch Pulp Fiction and then watch it more times because you can't really appreciate it until you watch it at least like 5 times.
It is weird because I do throw it in that strange category of movies that are even better the second time. It's great the first time, even better the second time, in my humble opinion. But what I want to hear here, boys, is it's not much of a surprise that Pulp Fiction's in the top 3 or even in the 2 spot. More importantly, where did you guys have it ranking on your list?
I had Pulp Fiction as my number 1.
Ooh.
I had it as number 2.
I had it as number 2 as well. And it was one of those ones that of course they know what the number 1 is now, but it was interchangeable, man. I had a hard time really sorting it out. And this is where, not to step on your toes here, Mark, but they know what number 1 is. And this is where I go back to that system I had to create for myself, where the franchise part played a role in what my favorite movie was in that franchise. And I kind of lumped them together. And so Die Hard carried a little more weight because it came with all the other ones for me. If it wasn't for that, I think I'm with B. I think Pulp Fiction might be his best movie.
I think for me, obviously, Die Hard takes number 1. Let the cat out of the bag. I think for me, selfishly, there's probably a little bit of, how do I say this? I saw Die Hard.
With your mouth. You say it with your mouth.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Use your words.
Sorry, I was going to drink some soup.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because then you might die hard.
So Die Hard came out in 1988. So I was 7 years old. God bless my mom. She let me and some friends go to the theater to see Die Hard at 7 years old.
That is impressive.
Your mom is a saint.
I remember riding in the back of the Woody wagon, the wood-paneled station wagon, riding backwards, and we unloaded and went into Die Hard, and I'm pretty sure I walked out a man after I saw that movie.
You had a beard and everything.
My mom, full beard. My mom had no idea what she was walking into, even though the name of the movie, come on,
Die Hard.
Die Hard. It's not like it's like Johnny's Playhouse, and then it turned out.
You rode in the back of the Woody wagon. You all go in and you watch the movie, and on the way out, you just took the car keys from mom and drove everybody home.
I drove home. Yeah. I mean, but for me, I think it's the nostalgia. I think that's probably why it takes number 1 over Pulp Fiction. If you just ask me straight up which one's a better movie, it's not like it's not close. I mean, it's definitely close. I might give Pulp Fiction the edge, but I think for me personally, and just the impact it had on me and making me the Bruce Willis fan I am, Die Hard did that for me.
Well,
so I think why I have to give it number 1.
And on top of that, like Pulp Fiction was such an ensemble cast versus Die Hard.
His role wasn't as big.
Bruce was the main character. He was the star. So like even when I put Pulp Fiction number 1, I was really picking this because that's the best movie that he's been in. Mm-hmm. But Die Hard was my number 2, and he was the lead in that badass movie. So I can kind of see how it could kind of go back and forth.
Nobody argues with John McClane. All right, boys. I'll just real quick. The only 3 that were on a list that did not make it into our discussion today, we will not go into detail, but we've got Beavis and Butthead Do America. We've got Lucky Number 11. And we've got Surrogates. So I think each of us had one movie from our list. All 3 of those are our number 10s. So I had Surrogates, Mr. B had Beavis and Butthead, and Big Nick had Lucky Number 11. So I'd ask you for honorable mentions.
I just wanted to squeeze Beavis and Butthead in just for fun.
Of course. I'd ask for honorable mentions, but I'm pretty sure going through 20 movies or 19 movies is quite enough, boys. So to all the big kids out there, made it to the end, we definitely appreciate you. If you have not, like I said, please subscribe, give us a like, give us a rating, give us a review. Tell us if we missed any movies, if that's even humanly possible. Let us know. We always love hearing from you all. Until next time, we are the Big Kid Show.